that exists in law firms today has come up working with international clients, and there is a lot of emphasis which now is given to the rankings and branding, which has reinforced this entire assertion. There is no dearth of talented women. In our organization, we see there to be almost more than rather 50% women. And therefore, I do realize that there is no dearth of talented women who have the ability to reach the top. But there are challenges which do exist. I think we have been talking about those challenges since the last many years. And those challenges are the biases at work, the work-life balance that still needs to be created. There are structural inflexibilities that we need to work around. So there are 3 sessions that have been panned out since day. And we will be talking about how to break these stereotypes, how we are able to at least come forward in terms of women who are in litigation. We have such examples here with Swarupma, Nina ma'am, and there are so many other women who are around we actually can draw inspiration from. We also need to understand the role of women so far as law firms are concerned, the role of women so far as arbitration is concerned. So I think there is a lot which is required to be done, and for that the discussions are important. Only when we discuss in forums like this is there a possibility that we are able to achieve what we desire. Now, gender inclusivity and diversity is something that we have, it is not a new term, but it is a concept that transcends mere equality. It's the notion that all services, opportunities, and establishments are open to all people that are male or female stereotypes and that do not define societal roles and expectations. Gender inclusivity in the Indian law has been enshrined in our constitution, the very document that provides that basis and guidance for governance in a democracy. The concept of gender inclusivity in India is inextricable from the workings of the democratic principles we have adopted. While we are still a long way from achieving what we can to term as equality in the sphere of gender, the fact that the Constitution provided a foundational basis to the gender inclusivity in the Indian laws has helped us sustain a struggle for leveling the field en masse and has paved the way for enactment of legislations that have been passed over the years since 1950. Many steps have been taken at the legislative level in order to ensure parity in the gender in terms of opportunities, meeting the gender pay gap, and ensuring the role of women in leadership roles. Now look at the scenario so far as women in the boardrooms are concerned. While hiring women on boards because of a mandatory guideline which has been issued by the government under the Companies Act, it started off as a tick box. And that exercise was, the whole effort was to bring diversity into the table in the board. In fact, my session actually is going to talk about the role of women in boardrooms. So we will discuss a little bit more about it. But then the need that was felt was because there was a need for diversity at the boardroom. And this is because many of the women who were hired were not from the traditional old boys network. Being hired from outside that pool of talent, it needed much needed diversity of thought. The clear lesson that was learned was that talent can be found in individuals from all kinds of diverse backgrounds. They aren't all in one place and can sometimes emerge from the most seemingly unexpected sources. Now, driving diversity clearly goes beyond hiring policies of the organizations and processes, although these are key and part of the initial building blocks for driving diversity into the culture of the organization. However, if we look at the diversity and inclusion in today's time, there still are issues of gender pay gap. If you look at different sectors, like legal sector, the gender pay gap still is about 25%. The IT and ITES services is still about 24%. Healthcare and social work is still about 21%. Manufacturing is still about 24%. So I think there is a lot which is required to be done. So there are relevant questions to be asked on whether the women are choosing the roles that are paid sufficiently or not. Is it important that they understand this aspect and choose roles that are more lucrative, pay scale wise as well? There is a need for mindset change in the management that is a key. So, women's representation and gender pay gap are issues that must be a part of the board agenda as well. And it is a part of a proper talent and remuneration plan as well. It is well accepted that leaders who are hiring those people are also like them. So that is also important that women reach on top, because one woman reaching on top will be able to hire similar women also to take them to top. So there has to be a process for mentorship as well. And gender inclusion and diversity also brings about an economic and business case. In fact, there were some data and statistics that I was able to find out that diverse teams are considered to be better decision makers. In one of the studies, it was found that the diverse teams have a 60% improvement in decision making. Now, that's a substantial number that we are talking about. Gender diverse teams outperformed individual decision makers 73% of the time. And teams diverse in geography, gender, and age made better business decisions. Diversity also improves performance of individuals, and in one of the McKinsey study, in fact, it was found that for every 10% increase in gender diversity, the EBITDA rose by 3.5%, and there was improved financial and market performance, which has been witnessed from women in leadership companies, with more women in executive management have been shown to financially outperform companies where there are no women in senior roles. Companies with female CEOs have strong financial performance, and women definitely bring leadership skills and behaviors to the table. So I think there definitely is a case in point which is made out so far as women's role is concerned in the boardrooms. Now look at women in litigation. There are multiple kinds of challenges. If I start to talk about it from the challenges that we have faced from the beginning, there is a lot which is required to be done, but I think I'll just touch upon a very brief issue on that, and that is something that Justice 𝗓𝗪 has made. In fact, stated in her book on balance. So it says, in a musty storeroom was passed off as the women's washroom. More than 5 decades later, even now in many high courts and lower courts, there is an abysmal working condition for women. There are basic sanitation facilities which are not available, basic toilets which are also not available. And therefore, I think the basic necessary facilities that are required to be provided for a baby changing room or a room where women could breastfeed their children or a basic creche facilities, I think Delhi High Court and Supreme Court is a good example, but there are a lot of high courts and lower courts which still require to have these facilities available. If we look at women in arbitration, that's another scenario where in fact the statistics on arbitral appointments seem to bear out on a general sentiment that this community, that there is no diversity across a panel of arbitrators, and the quality of decision making also suffers because of this reason. So there is an urgent need for diversity here, and especially in relation to the appointment of arbitrators, where there are, in fact, in the entire international arbitration space, there are very few women who are actually available in the data pool. So there is a notion of unconscious bias which needs to be discussed, which needs to be accepted and addressed in conferences like these. Change will come down to an individual taking personal responsibility for giving due consideration to a diverse slate of candidates on every occasion that an arbitrator is appointed. So arbitration organizations, institutions, and law firms should encourage strong diversity initiatives within their organizations as well. Now coming to the scenario that SELF is actually propagating, and that is women in law firms. If we look at the law firm situation, we see almost an equal amount of entry. And at the internship level, at the entry level, we see there to be equal amount of women who are coming into the profession. But over a period of time, as we grow up the ladder, that is where we see the leaky pipeline. There are very few women who are able to make it to the leadership roles. Now in India, there are very few women managing partners and senior partners in law firms, and it is not just about India. I think globally it is the same phenomena. In fact, the acceptance of women so far as the law firms is concerned also is a little abysmal in that sense. We need a real effort being taken both at the organizational level as well as the entire overall environment of the law firms, so that we are able to sustain women in the organizational chain. Over the years, India Inc. has definitely adopted progressive practices in bridging the gender pay gap, equity and inclusion gaps. But law firms, in fact, there are still a lot of biases which are existing, and therefore there is a need to eliminate sex discrimination, which requires adoption of policies that enables the lawyers of both the sexes to work together in their personal and professional lives. And such policies should include paternal leaves, flexible working hours, and work schedules for childcare, which are available for women lawyers who otherwise would have sacrificed their professional life for their personal lives in order to ensure that there is a balance created. Legal firms which are active in far-reaching life decisions for people should begin by providing infrastructural support for women, and much in advance, so that they are able to have a work-life balance, as we say. Law firms need to provide flexible work schedules, creches, eliminate pay gap on the basis of gender, and eliminate the biases within the firms, which can be a top-down approach. Most people present here are from the leadership positions, and therefore we need to take a vow and stand by the gender inclusion. That is the essence which will percolate down to the junior levels as well. We partners at the law firm should do our homework to find solutions that stick, and that is a huge responsibility that is bestowed upon us. That means tapping women in the organization itself to determine what benefits that would find most valuable, as well as keeping up to date on research to learn about innovative practices in the other law firms as well, which is able to retain women and also ensure that they are able to go up the ladder. Some law firms worldwide have come up with the idea of organizing and sponsoring diversity training programs which are designed to teach employees to understand the value and difference between men and women. So associations like the Self Ladies Group can be the front runners to look into the issues of gender disparity at workplace with focus on law firms and lawyers, and we must applaud Dr. 𝗚𝗚𝗏 for having conceptualized the thought behind this association to propagate the interest of women in the legal fraternity. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
We would like to begin with a special address by Dr. 𝗚𝗚𝗏𝗏, the President of the Society of Indian Law Firms. As the President of SILF, Dr. 𝗚𝗏 has played a pivotal role in shaping the direction and vision of one of the most influential organizations in the legal fraternity. So please join me in extending our heartfelt gratitude and warmest welcome to Dr. 𝗚𝗚𝗏𝗏, everyone.
Honorable Mr. Tushar Mehta, my dear colleague and friend, Ms. Shweta Bharti, Ms. Neena Gupta, other eminent ladies in the profession, heads of the law firms, and the few gentlemen who are here to participate in this ladies' event, friends of the media. It is a historic occasion that lady lawyers who are working in the law firms, they have got together second time in 2 years. The SILF Ladies Group was inaugurated by Honorable Justice Pratibha Singh last year, and after that we have had several events in different parts of the country. Our chairperson of SILF Ladies Group is Ms. Zia Modi. I think her name itself is an introduction to what she stands for. She is really one of the most illustrious lady lawyers heading one of the best law firms in the country. As India, that is our own Bharat, marches forward towards its ambitious goal of becoming the third largest economy by 2027, it is imperative that women citizens play a pivotal role in its economic growth story. In alignment with this sentiment, the United Nations has aptly identified Invest in Women as the key theme for celebrating this year's International Women's Day. Financial decision-making for women is far more impacted by life events like education, marriage, motherhood. True financial independence extends beyond earning income. It encompasses the ability to decide how to spend and invest that money. Unfortunately, for this, women often find themselves relying upon their male counterparts, be it a father, brother, husband, or even a male friend. And then there are women who have broken these shackles. Their awesome, awe-inspiring stories of grit and passion that supersede all societal norms. Armed with education and knowledge, these professionals personify the true essence of empowerment and socio-economic freedom. The heartening feature is recognition of this Nari Shakti by the present government of India and the steps being taken to create a level playing field for women. But then, should we not ask ourselves this question? Is the government alone which can achieve this? Certainly not. It is the cooperation, a change in the mindset of the society at large, which will bring about this change. This is a huge responsibility on as we citizens to change our mindset. This applies to business and industry leaders, institutional heads, those who decide on appointments and promotions. What it would be to credibly feminize the institutions of our society? A country can only be feminized if its economy truly values the value of labor, of care. A masculine culture of unhealthy competition and comparison yields an unhealthy obsession with the self. Scholar of morality, that is Nell Noddings, a very famous person, reminds us that caring is characterized by a move away from self. A feminized society would recognize and confer social value upon this gesture. Indian women spend twice as much time as men on unpaid caregiving activities. 48% of the urban women reported household duties and childcare as a bottleneck to their economic participation. Frontline care workers, that is Ashas and Anganwadi workers, remain overburdened, underpaid, and unprotected. Most domestic workers face abuse and low pay. Moreover, the modern economy forces women to face the harsh trade-off between care and career. Men across caste and faiths rarely face this binary. Policy must ease this trade-off, spend more on care economy, pay care workers adequately, value social workers as much as we value engineers, offer women longer tenures in their careers to compensate for the time lost during maternity, or scale up the transfers to women for the invisible care they provide. What is the scene so far as the system of administration of justice is concerned? Where do we stand, particularly with reference to our women colleagues? 35% of the subordinate judges are women, 35%. The number comes down to 13% in the High Court. Why that is not reflected, you see, in the High Courts? If there are 35% women judges in subordinate judiciary, why it comes down to 13%? In Supreme Court, we have only 3 women judges. As per figures of 2022, 12% women at constabulary level. Number declines to 8% at officer level. In prison administration, only 14% are women, and they are all stuck at the lower ranks. In high courts, in the 7 decades, only 16 women chief justices. 7 decades, 70 years, only 16 women chief justices. In all its years of existence, the National Human Rights Commission, which should be a shining example of fairness, including gender justice, there has been no woman commissioner at all. These need to be addressed. And these are being addressed because there is a potential. The government's initiative coupled with, you see, the breaking of the glass ceiling, that is helping the women to come up. Women have the potential. Bridging gender gap in employment, this is what can happen if women are actively involved. Please, these are the results of a survey which has been carried out officially by the National Family Health Survey. Bridging gender gap in employment could potentially lead to a 30% increase in country's GDP. Another study by McKinsey Global Institute, Advancing Women's Equality, could lead to a $28 trillion increase in global GDP. For India, this means a potential annual GDP boost of $770 billion by 2025, 180% higher than the expected business as usual GDP. In 2023, women made up nearly 53% of employable population. India has the third, this is again very significant, India has the third largest ecosystem in terms of the startups in the world, and 10% of these have been led by women founders of the startups. Therefore, there is a need, I think, for women to realize their own potential and to work towards that, but a larger responsibility on the society, you see, to change these norms, not for the benefit of women, but I think for the eventual benefit of the country's economy, as these figures have shown, that if women are involved, then the GDP will go skyrocketing, you see, up. That is the truth which has been highlighted by a national survey. Therefore, they say a right is never given, it is always taken. So if you have these rights with you, please make efforts to take these rights if they are not given to you. But I hope that they will be given to you because of the remarkable initiatives which the government has taken. But again, a heavy responsibility lies on the society and on the women themselves, and of course on the men folk, you see, who should contribute to the success of their women, not just for their own benefit, but I think for the benefit of their families. Families mean then eventually the country. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for your interesting insights. Now, moving on, please join me in extending the warmest welcomes to Mr. 𝗙ષ𝗪𝗓, the Solicitor General of India, as our chief guest, to address with his invaluable insights. Mr. Mehta attended the Gujarat University, where he obtained his law degree and received 5 gold medals. He has also received honorary doctorates from Amity and Karnataka State Law University and many more. With a career spanning decades, Honorable Mr. 𝗙ષ𝗪𝗓, the Solicitor General of India, has tirelessly served the cause of justice, upholding the rule of law and ensuring equitable access to legal remedies for all. He is a distinguished legal luminary with an illustrious career in the field of law. Known for his profound expertise to justice, he stands as a guardian of legal principles, contributing significantly to the legal landscape of the nation. So please welcome, sir, with a huge round of applause, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Lalit Bhashin Sahab, Shweta Bharti ji, Neena ji, and all graceful ladies and few gentlemen. When the graceful lady was introducing by saying that ladies and very few gentlemen, it was more a threat than an address, because what possibly she meant was that there are several ladies and man be better remain gentlemen. For the first time, I am having the feeling and experience of what feels to be in minority. Friends, during the course of this discussion, I am not using the expression lecture, I might say something on a lighter side, and please don't treat it as male chauvinism, which generally is attached with a wrong notion of feminism. Because I believe that ladies who want to be equal to men lack ambition, because you are already ahead of man. Why should you downgrade yourself and attempt to be equal to men? You need not. And I say this with utmost seriousness at my command. So far as the legal fraternity is concerned, I'll come to a slightly little later. But otherwise, the cliché arguments that in India, lady is treated as a devi and yatra naryastu pujyante, etc., that's okay. India has always worshipped lady. India is possibly the only country where the most powerful man in the country, be it a king earlier or the prime minister today, he bows before a lady deity. There is no country in the world. So far as India is concerned, there is no question of equality. There is a superiority so far as women are concerned. Number two, there was a study conducted in the aviation industry as to the competence of a lady commander or a captain, the pilot as we colloquially say, in times of crisis, which is a better gender to handle the crisis. And the study revealed that women pilots were more calm, more composed, and more matured in dealing with either a mechanical crisis in the aircraft or a crisis like hijacking. So in whichever way you examine, women have always been at the forefront, and they are better than human beings, than men. Only thing is, they always fail historically when they protest. When I tried to find out why this 8th March is celebrated as a Women's Day, and it is found that historically, the ladies in Russia protested against a potential First World War on a particular date of the Georgian calendar, which corresponds to our 8th March. And that is how 8th March is treated to be a World Women's Day, and that is accepted as such by the United Nations. But despite the protest, the First World War did happen. So, all graceful ladies, you are always successful except when you try to do something by using the protest as a method. This is on a lighter side. Now coming to the legal fraternity. First of all, I never subscribe to the theory that the success of any man or a woman can be judged by the statistical figures. This is very usual. Since few years, it has become very often cited statistics that there are very few 5%, 8%, 15% ladies in judiciary, in legal profession, in terms of lawyers, etc., etc. Do we really need that? Let us ask ourselves, do we really want to be successful statistically? If you go by the powerful leadership of the country, out of all the prime ministers, right from Jawaharlal Nehru, there was only one lady prime minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and but for the emergency, one was enough. One Golda Meir in Israel was enough. One Margaret Thatcher in Britain was enough. You don't have to say that we had 30% of the prime ministers who belong to a particular gender. This is where we are faltering. We want tokenism, that we must have at least 30% in judiciary, at least this much percent in profession, etc. It is necessary in case of reflecting public life. Because in public life, the chances and the opportunities that other gender gets are very less. And therefore, the government came with 𝗙𝗵𝗶 bill and 30% reservation. But in the professions where you are supposed to succeed based on your own worth, which you have, why should we count your success based upon the statistics? It's insulting the ladies. Take any lady from our profession. Mr. Lalit Bhasin just gave example of the chairperson, Zia Modi. Is she successful because she is a lady? No. She is successful because she is competent. Are all of you successful in your respective fields because you are ladies? No, despite being ladies. This tokenism on a long run would be against the interest of the ladies itself. You take Justice Sujata Manohar. She was a stalwart judge, not because she was a lady judge, because she was a great judge. I tried to find out the history, how the ladies came into this particular profession. The less number of ladies in this profession is essentially not because of now I'm not on the historical reasons, at least since last 20 to 25 years, is not because of any stereotyping. That's my personal view. It's because of the choice they have decided to choose. They do not come in this profession for various reasons. Maybe the climate of some trial courts do not suit them, etc., etc. But they do not become unsuccessful because they are ladies. But historically, they have suffered. And I found out one passage which reflects the history of struggle of the ladies to come in this profession. Forget the success. To come in this profession was nothing less than a fight, nothing less than a battle fought, and a very well fought. I'll just read it. For the first time in India, the pioneer of movement for entry of women to legal profession was Dr. Hari Singh Gaur. He moved the following amendment to the resolution adopted by the Central Legislative Assembly of India during the pre-independence era to remove the sex disqualification against women. Singh narrated the short history of this movement before the House in 1916. The first lady was Regina Guha. She passed her examination of Bachelor of Laws from University of Calcutta and applied to Calcutta High Court for her enrollment as a legal practitioner. Now, just listen how the courts in those years dealt with this issue. The judges met at a special bench. Under the Legal Practitioners Act, any person otherwise qualified to and eligible to apply for such an enrollment under the General Clauses Act, a person is held to include both man and woman. And General Clauses Act was applicable. Consequently, there was no legal impediment to the enrollment of a duly qualified graduate in law at the High Court in Calcutta. However, it was 1916. The Removal of Sex Disqualification Act was yet to be passed by the Mother of Parliaments. Mother of Parliaments is considered to be the British Parliament, which it did 3 years later in 1919. Their Lordships of Calcutta High Court observed, this is before passing of the Act, that it was perfectly true that both according to the etymological sense and the context of the Indian Legal Practitioners Act, the word person made a woman eligible for enrollment as a legal practitioner. Now please see the finding of their lordships. And that's why I say that it was nothing less than a battle for getting something which should have come to them obviously. However, the judges still said that the thing had never been done and they were not prepared to make any innovation. This was the finding. That so far, there is no enrollment of a lady advocate, though it is legally permissible, though it is legally not prohibited, but it has never happened and we don't want to innovate. Then a full bench decision of the High Court delivered on 29th of August 1916 refused the enrollment of Regina Guha as a pleader. In 1921, 5 years later, another lady from Odisha, Miss 𝗂𝗵𝗲𝗯 𝗓𝗏 filed a petition before Patna High Court. They followed Calcutta, again accepting the legal right but not granting any relief. Eventually, the first lady who was enrolled as an advocate was Cornelia Sorabji, the legendary Cornelia Sorabji, who fought her battle in Bombay High Court and was the first Indian lady to have been enrolled as an advocate in the Indian bar. Thereafter, see the journey based solely on merits, based solely on your competence. Ladies have prospered professionally, financially, socially, culturally, politically, in every which way. So much so that the world celebrates Women's Day and is afraid of celebrating a Man's Day. I do not see any reason why there can't be any Men's Day. This is again on a lighter note. But friends, as eminent ladies of your respective fields and as intellectuals, I would request all of you not to go for tokenism. You don't need tokenism. You don't deserve tokenism. You deserve what you deserve. There is a discussion, some percentage to be kept for the judges in the judiciary, for ladies, some percentage should be there while designating ladies, etc. But that is not an honor being conferred upon the ladies. In my mind, that's an insult of a lady. If I get something because I am a Gujarati and there are very few Gujaratis in a particular field, it's my insult, it's not my honor. If I get something, I must get if I am competent. And ladies are competent. We have many eminent lady lawyers in the Supreme Court bar, in other High Court bars, and eminent ladies in legal firms as well. Friends, you are going to listen to several eminent personalities. I have gone through the list. I wish I could have been present and listened to all of them because this is a subject of my liking. I unreservedly admit that men are inferior in most of the ways than women, and it is only some mischievous and intelligent mind which have propelled the theory that women is a weaker sex. By saying that, they have achieved many things. In fact, they are the stronger sex. I wish I could have been with all of you throughout the day, but there is some personal commitment. I won't be able to be here. I am thankful to Dr. Bhasin and Shweta Bharti ji to give me an opportunity to be a part of such eminent gathering. And I thank all of you for listening to me patiently. Whatever I have said, except some legal issues, are on the lighter vein, and therefore please do not misconstrue them or wrongly interpret them. They were on the lighter side, and I am in the habit of saying things on the lighter side. Thank you very much.
Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, a very good afternoon to all of you. Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. I thank Mr. 𝗙rie𝗵𝗻, the learned Solicitor General for India, for gracing this event and for sharing his pearls of wisdom and very encouraging thoughts. I also thank all our participants in the various sessions and friends in the audience. I thank Dr. Lalit Bhasin for being the brain behind the formation of SILF Ladies Group, as Shweta just said. And last but not the least, my thanks to Ms. 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗯 for playing a pivotal role in organizing this conference to celebrate the Women's Day. I ask myself, why only 8th March is celebrated as Women's Day? Why not all 365 days of the year? And pat comes an answer to my mind, that it is only symbolic. This time, Mahashivratri and Women's Day fell on the same day, which projected a powerful combination of Shiv and Shakti. Like God created this universe, God also created women to be his partners, to create, to preserve, to nurture. We are like the tree, which gives us shade, fruits, purity of environment, clean environment, and asks us nothing. It only says, don't cut me, don't hurt me, just let me grow. That is how we women are all about. I'm sure soon Nari Shakti will bring a game changer, will be a game changer for all of us. Thank you very much.
सर मैं सिर्फ आपसे इतना पूछना चाहती हूँ कि लीगल सेक्टर में वुमेन्स का क्या रोल है, कैसे उनकी अब ग्रोथ हो रही है और कैसे हो सकती है?
लीगल प्रोफेशन में बहुत मेजर रोल है। जैसे अब लॉ स्कूल में देखिए, जो गर्ल स्टूडेंट हैं उनका नंबर ज़्यादा है बॉय स्टूडेंट से, और लोअर जुडिशरी में देखिए फिर वो जो आती हैं लेडीज़ एग्जामिनेशन पास करके जुडिशरी का 35% जो हैं लेडी जजेस हैं लोअर जुडिशरी में। अब वो ठीक है कि हाई कोर्ट में आते आते उनकी परसेंटेज 13% रह जाती है, पर एक उनके लिए रास्ता खुल जाता है कि पहले लॉ स्टूडेंट से वो लॉयर बनती हैं, लॉयर बन के फिर वो सबऑर्डिनेट जुडिशरी में 35%, उसके बाद फिर हाई कोर्ट में आती हैं। तो ये एक करियर प्रोग्रेशन है। और कुछ लोग जो हैं वो जुडिशरी में नहीं आते, वो लॉयर्स बन जाते हैं, बड़ी सक्सेसफुल लॉयर्स हैं। हमारी हाई कोर्ट में आप जाइए देखिए, लेडी लॉयर्स खूब काम करती हैं, और अब सीनियर भी उनको बनाया जा रहा है। बहुत सारी लेडी लॉयर्स को सीनियर काउंसिल बनाया गया है। हमारी लेडी लॉयर्स जो हैं वो एडिशनल सोलिसिटर जनरल भी बन गई हैं। तो ये रास्ते अब खुलते जा रहे हैं उनके लिए, और फिर सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी पहुंच जाती हैं कई जजेस बन के और सीनियर एडवोकेट्स बन के। तो अब आपस में कहते हैं वेयर देयर इज़ ए विल देयर इज़ ए वे। अगर आप में है वो हिम्मत है, वो इंटरेस्ट है आपका, तो कुछ ना कुछ मिलेगा इस प्रोफेशन में। लिटिगेशन में जाइए, कॉरपोरेट में जाइए, कॉरपोरेट्स में आप लॉ फर्म्स में ज्वाइन करिए। तो जैसे लॉ फर्म्स में, हर एक लॉ फर्म में मैंने जानता हूँ, क्योंकि आई एम द प्रेसिडेंट सोसाइटी ऑफ इंडियन लॉ फर्म, के लेडी लॉयर्स ज़्यादा हैं नंबर में मेल लॉयर्स से, और वो कंट्रीब्यूट बहुत करती हैं, सिर्फ नंबर वाइज नहीं, क्वालिटी वाइज ऑल्सो। तो इसीलिए ये ऐसी इवेंट्स जो हमारी होती हैं उनके रोल को रिकग्नाइज करने के लिए।
थैंक यू सर।